And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. If you guys are new to us on the Amazon.com platform, welcome. Glad you could be with us. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button, though. You'll see it either here in this corner or down below. You will also see the book by our next guest, which happens to be on her pub day today. We're excited to welcome author Sharon Wishnow to our broadcast today. She celebrated the release of this book, The Pelican Tide. You guys can see it highlighted on the carousel there. TK, hello to you. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that. I love when people come in following you, so that makes me feel good. You guys can be able to get Sharon's new book, both in, of course, the hardcover here, or you can be able to get the Kindle edition as well. Both of them are there in the carousel. I'm going to talk to Sharon not only about the writing of the book, but also what it's been like for her to be able to share these characters now with all of us. And already see the early response to it as well. And because we are interactive, we want to welcome those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, as well as on Instagram. I appreciate you guys being with us too. Sergeant Ford Academy, I see you over there on the Instagram side as well. But Sharon, thank you so much for spending your pub day with us. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is so fun, so exciting.
Well, I appreciate that. So first of all, I want to ask you, what has this experience been like for you to have lived with these characters, Sharon, and now to be able to give them to us as readers?
It is amazing and scary. It's like sending a child off to school for the first day and you can't do anything other than wave to the bus. But also waiting for them to come home and tell you how wonderful the day was is the best way I can describe it.
Wow. Love that. I love the fact that with this book, and again, I was telling you before we went live here, I got a chance to read, and of course, an early copy of it. And what I love about this book is that there are so many characters that are relatable to all of us. I think all of us know what it's like for us to go through the ups and downs in life, and Sharon, to kind of feel like sometimes that we are kind of being pushed and pulled, by the world and events. What was it like for you to kind of bring all that together in The Pelican Tide?
Well, I think you've hit on something that I've tried really hard to do, which is to create characters who are somewhat relatable. I wanted, your characters are always a little larger than life, but I wanted there to be a variety of characters that everyone could be like, I know that person. This book started with a question: what would it be like to live through an oil spill? And what happened to the people 10 years after, which is when I started writing this book. And as I started to think about and do my research on who lives on the island today, and their professions and their dreams and their hopes, I was able to start putting together characters and imagining, who they are, and trying my best, I hope, to make at least a few of them real and three-dimensional, and with, professions, blue collar, professional, just sort of variety of things. Tourists, people who are just there for the fun of it. I wanted everyone to be somebody who you actually could meet there.
Yeah. And I think you've been able to do that and to be able to make them relatable. So even though we may not have been through the actual experience that they're going through, Sharon, what comes through in the book is that we all can kind of think about, okay, when I dealt with this event in my life, how did I feel? Can I relate to that? I love that. So let's talk about Josie. Josie's one of the big characters we're able to meet in the book. I love the fact that you're able to give Josie something that Josie is passionate about, but also something that she can share with the world. I thought that was an interesting parallel for you as a storyteller, having the love of words yourself and being able to share that. But how did Josie come to you?
I knew that I wanted to have somebody who was the center of the community, and trying to think about, what is the center of a community. A lot of places it's a pub or a restaurant or a farmer's market or a local shop. I remembered a candy store from when I grew up that was sort of the center for the kids always to go. And it made sense that since Grand Isle is such a tourist destination, to have a restaurant. And then Grand Isle was also a place with a lot of history. And it just started to fall into place that this needed to be a business that was part of the community for a long time. And it came to me that she should be a chef, but not a hash slinger, like a real chef, someone who goes off and leaves the island and comes back on her own adventure as a culinary professional who has a passion for feeding people and the community. In my own home, anyone who has been here knows that you will be fed the minute you walk into the door. So and that's a lot of homes. And so food and a passion for food and the environment and growing your food and having a connection to it through the seafood and the shrimping industry of the island. It just all clicked into place as a really natural thing and for her to have as a character.
Love that. And I think too, I'm going to talk around some things, Sharon. You'll know what I'm talking about. But as we see her kind of navigating things professionally, we're also able to see the turmoil that she's dealing with personally as well.
Mhm.
One thing that comes up in that, and I'll let you be the one to kind of dictate how much of that you want to share, but she has this idea of reflecting on the importance of gratitude and
Mhm.
things being grateful for. Um, what was that like for you to give that to Josie in her predicament that she found herself in? The intentional act of focusing on what you're grateful for and what you have.
That was really interesting. I gave her a really hard emotional wound. She's suffering from, a really kind of rough childhood. She's suffering from a broken marriage. She has jealousy between her best friends. And then all of a sudden, we have this huge ecological disaster. And in order for Josie to sort of learn to stand up on her own 2 feet, she sort of has to look around and realize that she is still standing.
Yeah.
And it's through sort of the act of, okay, I'm here. She's sort of there's optimism deep down in her heart, and it sort of comes to the surface. And it felt like a good place to start and build her change throughout the story.
Love that. That definitely comes through. Sharon Kurtzman, hello to you. Good to see you over on the IG side. Nick Conwell, thank you so much for the follow over on the Amazon Live side as well. For those of you who are just coming in, I see you guys coming in on Amazon Live. Welcome to you. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button. Stay connected with our programming here on Amazon 6 days a week. You'll see that follow button either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the brand new book by a guest today. We're excited to welcome author Sharon J. Wishnow to our broadcast today. Her new book, The Pelican Tide, is out for you guys to be able to enjoy. And believe me, these characters are ones that you will feel connected with, that will feel familiar to you. But also, I have to say, Sharon, I found myself rooting for them because, again, I think for anyone who's dealing with something that is natural or unnatural, Josie experiences both, I think, in some ways. Caleb, hello to you over on the Amazon Live side. You root for that person to come out better on the other side. I was curious for you because the great thing about doing this work that I do is that I never know how an author comes to the conclusion. I never know if they go into it knowing what the end looks like. Did you know what the adventure of Josie's life would look like in the beginning?
I didn't know what the middle was going to be. I knew
Okay.
where to start, and I knew the end. Every book I write, and this is my debut, but obviously not the first book that I've written. I always know what the last scene is,
Mm,
and so I knew, it was going to end up the way it did.
okay.
The fun for me is how we get there.
Right. Love that. I want to say hello to you, MPE officially over on the IG side. Sharon, appreciate that follow as well. And I appreciate you guys also with the hearts too. A great way for you guys to engage with us. You guys on YouTube, appreciate you guys. If you have any questions or comments for Sharon, make sure you guys do put those in the chat. So we're glad to be able to celebrate your pub day with you, Sharon. I want to ask about that experience. I saw your post you made on Instagram. We actually are simulcasting here on Instagram. What was it like for you to see the love coming, not just from readers like myself, but also your fellow authors and peers?
I think that has been the most overwhelming. I am very involved in my writing community,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been cheering on my author friends and people whose books I just stumble across for a long time. And just today, the phone calls, the flowers, the IG posts, the Facebook posts, the newsletters I've been in, it has just been probably the best part of the whole journey is to see that, the love that I've put out into the writing community is actually, coming back. And there's people who are just so excited to have this book. And there's so many people, I always tell everybody, just skip to the acknowledgments, because the story of the story is the people who helped me get here. And that today has just been such a celebration.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about. In as far as what I've heard, and you've heard this too, is cliche, but I've found in some instances in having conversations like this, Sharon, it definitely is true. A lot of authors are told to write what you know. Others feel like no, you have to write something new, something that's different than you know. That's where the challenge is. Did you feel pieces of yourself in Josie? And when I was alluding to earlier about the way Josie's able to use her gift and how food, it's not just food, it's a form of therapy. It's a form of something to do. Do you feel that connection with Josie when it comes to your writing?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a little bit of me in just about every character, even the
Okay.
ones that aren't so great,
Okay.
which is kind of fun too. And I think people who know me very well will be able to pick apart who's who and where they came from. So yes, it's hard not to write a character and not sort of pull from your own well of experiences and emotions.
Caleb says on Amazon, not a question, but a comment for Sharon. You deserve all of it. I think that's a great message about Josie, too. How does that feel, though, to hear someone say that to you, Sharon, that you deserve all of this that is coming your way?
It's over again. It's overwhelming. People who understand the joy and the passion and of writing a book and the obsession and the heartache also understand that when we get to this day, it is a big moment. Yeah.
Hmm. The title of the book is The Pelican Tide. But
Mhm.
I was saying to you before we went live here, I felt like as a reader that it's a great metaphor in many ways for what Josie and others are experiencing.
Mhm.
I think about myself living here in the country that when I think about storms, of course, we know how destructive hurricanes and tornadoes can be. Believe me, I know, having dealt with Katrina and everything that's happened since. But that there is a destruction, but there's also the clearing. What was it like for you to play with as you were dealing with this disaster that was kind of rocking Josie's world? Also thinking about how when it came to Pelican Tide, how it really was about what was brought, but also what was being carried away.
I think you just nailed it. That's what it is. It was what came in and what came out. The original working title of the book was When the Oil Came to Shore, and that got
Okay.
vetoed for a lot of people. But because for me, it was as the oil came in, the community healed, and so sort of it sounds kind of sappy. The love came out as the badness came in,
Right.
and so that's sort of so many metaphors. The tide coming in, Gumbo the pelican flying in and out, the boats coming in and out, the outside world coming in and out, the government agencies coming in and then abandoning them. There was so much to play with the whole concept of tide and the movement and the change and the rising tides, the low tides, and even just Gumbo the pelican and how he's first discovered at a during low tide after a storm. So yes, lots of tides going on.
I mentioned earlier about during that time when Josie's going through some difficulty and thinking about the importance of the assignments being given, right, and the things to be grateful for. I want to talk about that for a second in relation to just life, too, because I thought about that, too. It comes up more than once in the book, Sharon, and that is a lot of times when things are the most difficult, that's when it is the most difficult to remember what we do have. What was
Mhm.
that like for you? And was that part of the connection you also felt with Josie? That even when things seemed like they were all falling apart, appreciating what you still had around you.
Oh, absolutely. You know, as an author, one of our roles is to chase our characters up a tree and then throw rocks at them. So we have to do bad things for them so that we can tell the good things about their lives. um, I had some emotional days with Josie. I would have actually dreams about this character and of these horrible things that had happened to her and did happen to her, and then just to think, well, how did this build her resilience as a character, and how was she able to use her past to propel her forward to the resolution of her story? And she makes some hard decisions that people have said to me, early readers, like, I don't know if I would have done that.
Mm,
And it just makes for great discussion.
right. We do have a question from Caleb, and unfortunately, Sharon, on the Amazon side, I can't pull those on screen, but I will read it for you. Caleb says this: how did you decide on individual character names, and what was the importance of catching the reader's attention in that way?
Oh, so the names in this book have, or were almost like naming children. So Josie was named after a dear friend's mother who died about the time that I was naming the characters. I was really struggling. I knew who Josie was. I just couldn't settle on a name. And a dear friend's mother died. Her name was Josephine, and she was a chef.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's a hot sauce recipe at the end of the book, which comes from her family. And it just all sort of came together. The character Louise is named after my oldest friend, since I've known since I was 4. So that was a promise I made to her when I was 8 years old, that I was going to write a book one day and put her in it.
Oh, wow.
So that's been a lot of fun, though. The Louise in the book and my friend, whose her name is not Louise, are not the same people at all. But it's just, we just know. And so names were a really big deal. The names Odile and Hudine came directly from a 1940 census data. I was doing research and I pulled up census data of the Babineau family. I just had found this family name that I liked the name. I just liked the alliteration of Brian Babineau. And I pulled up a census data from one of the databases that I use, and there was the Babineau family, and there was their names. And I went, holy cow, I could have never come up with those on my own. So
Wow.
they were real people. I don't know who they were, but I took their names.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Hello to you, Dr. Bell. I'm going to be to see you over on the Facebook side. Appreciate all of you guys engaging with us on the different platforms. Keep in mind, if you guys are coming in late, don't worry. The replay of this will be left wherever you're watching. So those tuning in on Amazon.com, the replay will stay there. But also those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, on YouTube, X, as well as on Instagram, the replay will be there. And we're going to be tagging Sharon there as well. Let's talk social media here. That it can be a full-time job in itself. And outside of you being able to share the book, Sharon, I know it's been keeping you busy. What has it been like for you to connect with people who you've never met, who are just discovering you? What has that been like for you to make those connections online?
It's really interesting. My main social media is a sort of an insular Facebook world, Instagram, and I'm big on Substack. And Substack is sort of its own social media platform.
Right.
And where I've had conversations with people and people have interacted with the things that I've written. It's been a lot of fun, actually. I've a couple people that haven't been fun, but for the most part, people who've reached out and, have been interested in the stories. I've been talking about it along the way. People who've, it's just, I heard about this from so-and-so and I'm from Louisiana. Can we talk? And I've really met some really fun people, obviously lots of writers, because that's my community. So social media, it's a beast, and yes, you have to feed it.
Right.
But it has fed me a little bit along this journey.
Love that. I'm curious that you bring up an interesting point that I wasn't planning on asking you, but because of what you just said, I think it's a good thing to ask. I mean, of course, people will be expecting more from you, which is a great thing, right?
Mhm.
But do you feel as though the location is as much a main character as the characters you gave us?
Oh, absolutely. I knew, well, before I even came across this story, I knew I wanted to write about an island.
Okay.
And the ocean. That was just like, I just had a thing. And then of course I kind of came across the idea of the Deepwater Horizon, and I needed a place to put the story. And I started reaching out to my writing community and reaching out people who lived in the Gulf states, because I'm not from there. It's a little secret. And the spill hit along 7 coasts. And I was like, where is this story going to be? And as I was talking to people, and southern Louisiana is not very populated, and I needed a population center that had everything that a community needs. And I kept going back to Grand Isle. I kept reading accounts. And when I discovered that Grand Isle was ground zero for the oil spill, that's where it was. If you go to my website, SharonWishnow.com, and you go to the book club page, you'll see Restore Grand Isle. And I am working with the actual people of Grand Isle to restore the island. And there are photos of how the oil has actually physically eroded the island and how they are trying to repatriate it today. So yes, the island is very much a living, breathing part of the story.
Hmm. Nick says on Amazon, congrats to Sharon. My pre-order just arrived and can't
Yeah.
wait to read. Nick, I know you're going to love it. I know Sharon can't wait to hear what you think. I do want to ask you, because you brought up the back of the book, the recipes. I have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Was that something you knew had to be a part of this? For one, Josie being a chef, but also we're talking about Louisiana here, so we have to talk about food. Did you know that was going to be a part of the story initially?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I I knew there was going to be a one or two or three recipes, things that she was known for cooking, and then as they kind of became a like a running thing in the book, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to develop these recipes. So there's a tea cake recipe, which is a southern shortbread style cookie.
Mm-hmm.
There is a chocolate chili chip brownie recipe, and then there's the hot sauce recipe. The cookie recipes and the brownie recipes we actually developed here at Shea Wishnow, and the hot sauce recipe comes from it's an actual family recipe from our friends who actually had a hot sauce company in the UK, and absolutely wanted to put the food out there so people could, bake a cookie, have a, have a book club. The brownie recipe is really great with a glass of red wine. Really wanted people to kind of feel, what we were doing here.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier about, being able to say when you write a book what you wanted to do. Has it kind of sunk in for you at this point that you are now a published author?
Absolutely not. Yeah, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I'm definitely not there yet.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Sharon, it's a great book. I love the engagement that you've been able to get, and even getting to this point. Congratulations to you, not only, of course, in introducing these characters, but also in being able to start this incredible journey as a storyteller. Again, everyone, Sharon J. Wishnow has been our guest. The book is The Pelican Tide. It's available right here on Amazon. As you guys can see, even the Kindle edition, you guys can get for only $3.99 here on Amazon. So make sure you guys do take advantage of that. Published by Laking and Publishing. And Sharon, you mentioned the website earlier. Let our audience know again how they can stay connected with you.
Yeah, you can go to www.sharonwishnow.com, and that's just like it sounds, Wishnow. You can sign up for my newsletter, Research for Writers and Other Curious People. You can, send me a direct email. You can learn about Grand Isle and how you can get involved in helping save this kind of really special place. You can read about pelicans. And if you are interested in bringing Pelican Tide to a book club, there's all kinds of extra little, goodies for book clubs, for discussions. And the recipes are there. So go grab the recipes. Make some cookies.
Awesome. There you go. Hey, I love good tea cakes. I'm going to try the recipe myself and let you know what we think. Sharon, this has been great. Thank you again for sharing part of your pub day with us, and looking forward to our next conversation. I should let our audience know Sharon will be joining me on the radio side here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM, but we will have the podcast available for you guys to hear as well. We'll keep you updated on that. And Sharon, definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I can't wait to tell you what's been happening all week long when we get to the end of the week.
Love that. Love that. And we thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb saying thank you so much for being with us. We'll talk to you all soon. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.